Hello, great people. Barely 24 hours after INEC recognized the leadership of ADC backed by Alhaji Atiku Abubakar and Mr. Peter Obi, a federal high court in Abuja, precisely the cause of Justice Inwite, have restrained the ADC leadership from parading themselves pending the determination of the suit before it. Is this a coincidence or a planned game? Well, on this episode of Politics with Joshua Plug, I will be telling you what has happened, the fate of the David Mark-led leadership of ADC as chairman and Rauf Aregbesola as national publicity secretary. I will be telling you their fate. I will be telling you the case in court. I have the case here. I will be reading some things out to you and the order of the judge. I will read it out to you. Then we'll be dissecting the issues. Is this a planned game or a coincidence? Because we are talking of less than 24 hours after INEC recognized them. Then we'll look at what is happening in other political parties. Is there a trend between what is happening in other parties and that of ADC, and where can we trace it to? And we'll also look at the implication of this on the 2027 election, particularly for the opposition parties. We'll be dissecting a lot and more on this episode of Politics with Joshua Plug, Dr. Omosoladeji. Before I tell you whether it is a planned game or coincidence, rest assured that we would be reading the case because I have it here. But let us look at it. Less than 24 hours, INEC has restrained the leadership of ADC. Is this a planned game or a coincidence? Because come to think of it, did INEC decide to recognize that particular leadership just to save itself a name, just so that the opposition and the Nigerian public will not see INEC as being partial or will not lose interest in the conduct of the 2027 election? You know that if there is a party before you, if they meet the right criteria, then you have to acknowledge them. So did INEC acknowledge them for acknowledging sake, just so that Nigerians will not, say that, oh, it will not put the blame on INEC, and so that it will increase confidence in the 2027 presidential election? Is there a planned game that, okay, INEC go and recognize them, then suddenly we will spring up the surprise? Is that the case? Because the order of the court was allegedly granted on September 4, but that order did not come out to the public domain until INEC recognized the leadership of Rauf Aregbesola as national secretary and David Mark as national chairman. So that's why I said that, is it a planned game or a coincidence? And I look forward to your impression in the comment section, because the less than 24 hours that the things are happening and the sequence at which the events are occurring, then it leaves the question again, is this a planned game by the APC-led government headed by Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the likes of Nyesom Wike that are diehard fan of the president, just for the president to have a smooth sail, or it is just a coincidence? Now, let me take you to the case in court and the order that was given. Let me read something out to you. The case is between one Honorable Nafiu Bala Gombe. Is the plaintiff, is the applicant, is the one that applied to the court that Aregbesola and David Mark should be restrained. And it is him versus 5 other persons. Number 1, the African Democratic Congress, which is ADC, the political party. Number 2 is Senator David Mark, the national chairman. Ogbeni Rauf Aregbesola, the national secretary. And number 4 is Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. And number 5 is Chief Ralph Nwosu, the national chairman of ADC, that handed over to Rauf and handed over to David Mark. Now, let me read to you the order of the court. It reads, Order of the court, Honorable Justice Emeka Nwite, presiding judge, upon the motion ex parte dated and filed 2nd day of September 2025, coming up today, the 4th day of September 2025, praying the Honorable Court for the following orders. An order of interim injunction restraining the 4th defendant, that's INEC, from recognizing the 2nd and 3rd defendant, that is the national chairman and national secretary, their agent, cohort, and privies of the 1st defendant or respondent, herein pending the hearing of the motion or notice already filed in this matter. So the judge, Justice Inwite, granted that order that INEC should desist and cease from recognizing David Mark as the national chairman and Rauf Aregbesola as the national secretary. Now, I haven't read the case to you. Let us look at something. This is beginning to be a replica of what happened in the Labour Party. And that's why I said, is it a planned game or a coincidence? In the sense that the man that is fighting that David Mark should be removed is Honorable Nofiu Bala Gombe. And if you look at it, that was what happened in the Labour Party, whereby a Lamidi Papa suddenly came out of the blue and he gave the Labour Party a lot of headache. He declared himself as the national chairman of the party. They had to go to court. They had to wrestle among themselves. Now, the ADC that has just been adopted by the coalition and everything seems peaceful, suddenly one Nofiu erupts from nowhere and now is giving ADC a problem. So, what is happening in the ADC at the moment has some strong correlation with what happened in the Labour Party. And that's why I asked the question at the beginning that, is it a planned game or a coincidence? But what I can say in this regard is I hope judiciary won't ruin this democracy, in the sense that if you look at some of the judgment that have been coming out from the court, it leaves quite a lot to be desired, in the sense that the court seem to be a tool for willing politicians. It's like as if the politicians have the magic wand to control the court, and that itself is dangerous to Nigeria's democracy. Because if you look at it, the court in this instance, the Federal High Court in Abuja, was hasty to grant a restraining order against David Mark and Rauf Aregbesola, but the same Nigerian judiciary have refused to hear the case of Siminalayi Fubara as regards the legality of his suspension. So you can see the inconsistency in the operation of the Nigerian judiciary for about 6 months now, just for them to determine whether the president have acted rightly or not, something that they don't need any evidence, just to interpret the constitution. The Supreme Court have refused to hear that particular case. So it is saddening that if the conduct of the judiciary allegedly seems to be tilting towards favoring one particular political party all the time, then it is a recipe for anarchy, and at the end of the day, the judiciary cannot confidently be referred to as the hope of the common man. So I just hope that the judiciary will stand tall and stand when it matters most, and I just hope that the judiciary won't contribute into ruining this democracy, because the conduct of the judiciary apparently leaves much to be desired, particularly from the opposition party. And if they can't have confidence in the judiciary, then they will seek refuge elsewhere. And if they try to seek refuge elsewhere, where will they turn to? Of course, they will turn to self-help, and that will result into anarchy. And another thing to look at is that the Supreme Court already says that court has no jurisdiction in the internal affairs of political party, and one of the authorities in that regard is the judgment as regards PDP versus Anyanwu, the embattled, I think the case has been resolved now, national secretary of the PDP that is loyal to Nyesom Wike. So the recent judgment of the Supreme Court stated that court has no jurisdiction in the internal affairs of political parties. If that is the case, then why is the court meddling into the affairs of the ADC? And that's why I said the judiciary must be consistent in the ruling that it gives. Another thing is that there are people that have said that, well, the court may say that it has no jurisdiction in the internal affairs of political parties, but then again, the political party is a product of the constitution itself. So if the party decide not to interpret his constitution or follow the dictate of his own constitution, then where do you run to? It is the court. So the big question is that, as the Atiku Abubakar and Peter Obi led coalition, did they do the right thing in taking over the leadership of the ADC? If they've done that, definitely, apparently, they would triumph in court. But if the right thing have not been done, or the judiciary allegedly decide to compromise, then there's fire on the mountain. But one thing is important, which is that all these issues, it points to one thing: Bola Tinubu no go let you drink water, not to talk of drop cup. You know, say the popular saying is that, oh, they don't let me you drink water, drop cup. No, this time Bola Tinubu will not even allow you to drink water not to talk of dropping the cup. This is what this thing is pointing to, because it is tilting toward Bola Ahmed Tinubu apparently not having an opposition in 2027, because it is beyond coincidence that there's trouble in NNPC, there's a factionalization in Labour Party, there's unrest in PDP, and now ADC. So any political party that seems to be strong and to be mobilizing strong, why is it that there's always crisis in those political parties? And that is why it is tilting towards beyond coincidence. But I can say that Bola Ahmed Tinubu himself has to be very careful, because the past government under the PDP allowed the opposition to thrive. That's why APC could emerge under Muhammadu Buhari, and definitely Tinubu took over from him. So if he himself now wants to turn Nigeria allegedly into a one-party state, then there's fire on the mountain. Then he has a lot to learn from the likes of the late General Sani Abacha, because Abacha himself and even Babangida as well, they tried to transform from military government to a civilian government, and they are kind of like making sure that there will only be one strong political party. So that will not sail through, and I hope that Bola Ahmed Tinubu will learn from history. Another thing is that, if every major political party is in crisis, then Nigerians themselves will not be happy with any government that emerge, particularly when they can point to that government as being responsible for other political parties not being able to triumph. So if you want to win an election, you need some form of legitimacy. In fact, for you to enjoy your government, the people need to believe that your election was won legitimately. So I would advise Bola Ahmed Tinubu to allow opposition to thrive. And another thing is that Atiku Abubakar and other leaders of the opposition, they need to be proactive rather than reactive, in the sense that they need to have sniffers in the court, they need to have sniffers in INEC office, they need to have people that can be doing ofofo for them, they need to have people in the relevant places, just so that if any action wants to be taken against them, definitely they can swing into action as soon as possible, in the sense that perhaps when that order of court was to be granted, definitely if the lawyers of Alhaji Atiku Abubakar were there, maybe the order wouldn't have been granted. It happened in the case of Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan. Some of you don't know that the senator is supposed to be in prison because the federal government allegedly want to procure a backdoor judgment at one point in time to make sure that Natasha is arrested and remanded. But then, because Natasha have sniffers in the court, they informed her, and a lawyer rushed to the court. And when the motion was being argued, a lawyer, entered the court and defended Natasha. So if somebody like Natasha, a woman, just one person, can be that rugged, now think of a combination of Atiku Abubakar, Peter Obi, and other political stalwarts. And that is why I said the ADC, the coalition, if they want to thrive, they should be proactive rather than reactive. It's been an interesting time with you. Subscribe, turn on your notification button, catch up with my past videos. See you in my next video. I love you all sincerely.